Hi you guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I want to talk about some Paris metro etiquette with you. Now, there are two reasons why I wanted to make this video. Number one is that one of the most common questions that I get during my consultations is, how can I blend in? How can I look like the locals? And this one's a tough one because when you come to Paris, when you're visiting, when you're here on vacation, I want you guys to enjoy. I want you to feel comfortable. As long as you're being respectful and safe, then there's no reason to follow this strict set of guidelines. But it is a very common question, so I thought it'd be fun to talk about. And the second reason why I want to make this video is because this weekend, Jean and I were taking Metro Line 1. I saw the second worst accident that I've ever seen on the Paris Metro. And this accident very easily could have been avoided had this woman followed one of my etiquette rules. So in order to help you guys stay safe and blend in if you want to, I do want to go over this quick list of 6 things that you can do or that you can keep in mind when using the metro in Paris. So the first point that I want to talk about is the most obvious if you're not a tourist, and that is to stay quiet on the metro. Most Parisians are very discreet when they're traveling on the metro. It's definitely a social norm not to talk on the phone on the metro. If you're traveling with someone, then you talk very quietly amongst yourselves. Like if I'm talking to Jean on the metro, we're whispering beside each other. It is a very quiet, discreet atmosphere in the metros. And the reason why this one kind of makes me laugh is because it is always obvious when a group of Anglophone tourists enters the metro, because the behavior is so opposite from the locals that it almost feels like they are yelling at each other. They get the most dirty looks from Parisians in the metro. So if you do want to blend in, I definitely recommend remaining discreet and talking quietly amongst your group. My second point is to take off your backpack when the metro is crowded. And the metro gets very crowded, especially during rush hour. It's the main method of transportation that people use to get to and from work. So in the mornings between, I would say, 8:30 and 10:30, and the evenings between 4 and 7, the metro is jam-packed. And so it is just a common courtesy if you're wearing a big backpack that you take it off and you put it at your feet in the metro. I wouldn't say let go of the backpack. You don't want to get robbed either. But when I am carrying a backpack, I always put it in front of me and put it on the floor and just keep my hand on the handle at the top. It is honestly very frustrating when it's like a can of sardines in the metro and someone with a giant backpack is taking up 4 spaces around them. So that's just something else to be mindful of. Point number 3 also relates to when the metro is very crowded, and that is if you're sitting in the foldable chairs and the metro is getting crowded, make sure you do stand up. I have seen many tourists be yelled at for not doing this, and honestly, it is quite understandable. You will experience this if you take the metro during rush hour, but essentially both doors have 2 sets of chairs on either sides of those doors, and they can be bent down to sit and they can be let up if you want to stand. And it really is a pet peeve, I think, for a lot of Parisians when tourists are sitting in these chairs and the metro is filling and filling, and people are so packed in there that they are pressed up against the glass and nobody can move anywhere. Everyone is falling all over the place when the train moves, and you have a group of tourists that are refusing to stand and are just staying put and seated in those chairs. It's very frustrating. In cases like this, I have seen people get yelled at. I have seen Parisians just plop their bags on the laps of people who are refusing to get up because, yeah, it is quite inconsiderate, I would say, to have everybody around you suffer in the crowded metro while you continue to sit. So that's one I think definitely, if you can, I would try and follow. My fourth point relates to the accident that I saw this weekend on Line 1. And essentially what happened is the metro pulled into the station, the doors opened, people got on, and then the classic alarm sounded, like right before the doors slam shut, you hear a little alarm. that tells you no more people can get on the train. We are shutting the doors and leaving. If you hear this alarm, please do not rush to get on the metro. That's exactly what this woman did, and she got her entire arm trapped in the door. And especially line 1 and line 14, these are automatic metros. You don't have a conductor controlling these trains. And so there are cases when the alarm sounds and people are still running on and they're holding the doors open and stuff, and the controller can make sure that people don't get hurt. But because line 1 is automatic, I mean, I'm assuming, I'm not a metro train controller, but I'm assuming that because there wasn't the capacity of human intervention to help this woman whose arm was stuck, that her injury was so aggravated. And I'm telling you that the sound of this woman's scream was unlike anything I had heard before. The train was stopped. Staff came running down. People, myself and John included, like, got out of the metro, wanted to make sure that this woman was okay. It sounded like it was honestly just the most shrill, loud, panic scream I had ever heard. She was clearly very injured. And so this is one I would really insist on. If you hear that alarm, if you see the doors closing, please don't rush to get on. The metros, especially line 1, they come every 2 to 3 minutes. It is going to be much more enjoyable for you on your trip to just wait those 3 minutes as opposed to potentially getting injured in the middle of these shutting doors. My 5th point also relates to these doors, not shutting, but opening. Before you enter the metro, it is always a common courtesy to allow people to exit the metro before you walk on. So typically what people will do is when the train pulls into the station and the doors open, everybody waits on either the left or the right side of the doors. Nobody who is intending on getting onto the metro is standing in the middle of the doorway. That would be considered very rude. You always stand on the side, you allow the doors to open, you allow the passengers to exit the metro, and then you enter the metro from the sides. Just a little common courtesy that I would recommend following. And my 6th and final point relates to leaving the metro. If you are exiting the metro and you're lucky enough to be at a station with an escalator, if you're not walking up that escalator, make sure you stay on the right side. You will see that everybody does this, so it's easy to pick up on. But if you don't do this, you do risk being yelled at. If you stand on the left side and you're not walking, it is quite inconvenient for the people who are in a rush and trying to get on their way to walk up as fast as they can. I have heard lots of comments about this one. People are always like, why are Parisians always in a rush? Why is everybody so pressed to get places? And I think it's a mixture of things. In Paris in general, there definitely is this sense of urgency all the time. And you never realize that you have this sense of urgency until you visit literally anywhere else. Jean and I were traveling to, where was it? Reims. We were traveling to Reims. And I turned to John, I was like, why is everybody walking so slow? I couldn't weave around people. I was just, I felt like I was walking so slow through the train station. And he was like, Arielle, you've left Paris. This is the norm here. I was like, oh, you're right. You're right. So just generally in Paris, everybody is always in a rush. And there is also the factor that people come to work in Paris from far outside. I mean, far in air quotation marks, because you're still able to travel from the suburbs into the city using trains and the metro. But these trains are often on pretty tight schedules, and especially the trains that leave from Paris to the outer areas like the suburbs and stuff, they come once every 20, once every 30 minutes. So people don't want to miss those trains. They want to get home from work. And that's why you might see people, especially on rush hour, trying to run through the station and get to their next train. So there you have it. Those are my 6 metro etiquette rules for you. I'd be very curious to know what you guys think down below, and also if I've missed any in your opinion. I do just want to reiterate that as long as you're staying respectful and safe and considerate of others, you don't need to worry about blending in all the time, about behaving exactly as the locals do. I mean, it's normal that tourists behave differently from locals. They aren't used to the same norms. So this is a very interesting topic to talk about, and I think it is good to keep all of these things in mind. But generally speaking, as long as you're safe, considerate, and respectful, then you'll have a great time and people will be very friendly and kind with you. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you soon.